There was a song that was in my brain when I woke up this morning. It was that Usher song. I think it's called Simple Things. I probably should have looked that up before I mentioned it. It was off the Confessions album, for sure. But great song. I had a memory of playing that song while like me, my grandma, and my cousin and my brother were playing like Rummy Gin. I think that's what that game was called. But anyway, this is not about me. It's just just uh, just thought I'd mention that. But anyway, the Simple Thing song came into my brain, and it kind of ties in to this thought that I had. So I'll post it, and then you can just listen to it, and then you'll hear how it kind of ties into everything that I'm about to say here. So, observation is key. I definitely believe in that. Everything I learned was through observation. So, something that I've observed over the course of my life is um, I'll look at it from a friendship perspective. So, friendships that I've observed where they have like romantic interests and they come back to me and they tell me about all these things that this person's doing and blah blah blah, the typical spiel that you listen to as a friend. um, and as I've gotten older, I've come to realize that I think people's dynamics, whether they're romantic or whatever, but we'll just focus on romantic for the sake of this video. I've realized that things would be a lot easier between people, romantically speaking, if they would just be honest about what their intentions are right from the start. Because I think that's where the disconnect starts to happen in a lot of these dynamics that I've observed, is that people get into these relationships um, with hidden motives, whether they want to use the person for something or whether they were initially attracted to them because you know, they could bolster their status or whatever, or they wanted to use them, or they wanted to, do something emotionally manipulative to them, like narcissistic type shit. Um, but everybody has, I've observed that a lot of these people end up having like these hidden motives. So I think that the problem with a lot of those things that I observed is like people weren't honest about what their intentions were, so then they end up hurting the other person because they weren't honest about what they wanted or desired from that person. Now, me saying that, obviously there's going to be a group of people that are like, okay, why would someone be honest with somebody and tell them that, hey, I only want to be with you because I wanted to use you for something? Obvi- Obviously, no one's going to say that. No one's, a woman isn't going to say, oh, I only want to be with this person because I want them to be my sugar daddy or whatever, the negative part of, people being in relationships is, because there's many, obviously. Like obviously nobody's going to say that those types of things, but why would they not say those things? Because they have selfish intentions. So when people are coming from a selfish place, they are not going to be upfront about what their actual desire is from that other person is, because there's a fear that they won't be able to obtain whatever it is they're trying to get. So I understood that. I'm not a novice at life. Well, sometimes it kind of feels like I am, but I'm not a novice at life. Like I'm not oblivious to the workings of people. Like I definitely understand how that goes down. But from my perspective, it's just like I don't understand why it has to be that way. I think that's why a lot of these videos that I create come from. That's the space it comes from. It's like I don't understand why it's like this, but it could easily just be this. Because I guess that's how I function in life. Like I understand like, oh, that's wrong, or oh, that's right. Like morality and integrity comes into play every time I make a decision. So it's very easy for me to make decisions based on that alone. Um, But you know, then there's the other group of people that don't really tap into that realm of, you know, am I going to hurt somebody if I make this decision? You know, if I'm not honest, and you know, the whole leading on, and you know, all the stuff that happens with like regular romantic relationships. So I think from a higher perspective, yes, it would be really fantastic if people were just honest about what their intentions were, and that would kind of create or um, reduce the amount of people that get hurt in these types of dynamics, because you know, people assume you're going to be honest with them about what your desires are, but you know, there's that other realm of people that are coming from a very dark and negative heart space, and they don't necessarily care about what you want, just as long as their needs are going to be met. So in a perfect world, everybody would just be honest about what their intentions are. That way, like, if you don't want the same thing that person wants, then you can just save them the trouble of going, you know, playing or doing the whole song and dance with you. That's a perfect world, but unfortunately we don't live in a perfect world, and people are getting hurt left and right, and getting abused and used, and that whole Arithmetic song, Sweet Dreams, you know, that whole situation. You know, that's another song I'll post. Those are two perfect songs, actually. Simple Things, Usher, and then Arithmetic's Sweet Dreams. Perfect.